It's time for the international newspapers. Olivia's here with us this week. We're starting with Venezuela. Hugo Chavez being re-elected president. Presumably the papers haven't had that much of a chance yet to react, though.
No, not to the news this morning, of course, but they did spend the whole weekend speculating over which direction Venezuela was going to go in. And that was summed up by the Wall Street Journal in this photo on their front page this morning that says Venezuela at the crossroads. Are they going to go left towards Chavez, right towards the opposition, Enrique Capriles? And that really has been at the centre of most people's concerns. I mean, this has wider repercussions for the region, especially in Latin America, now that Venezuela's joined the Mercosur, the Latin American trade bloc. So Argentina was wringing its hands over the weekend with a headline that said, Venezuela votes and all of Latin America is in suspense, which really sums up their concerns. They also had an editorial lamenting the policies of Chavez, actually, and they're really quite critical of him. The tone's very critical. The title of the editorial is, Before Chavez was a promise of a better future, today that's no longer the case. They say that he's incapable of taking any constructive criticism from his opposition, that he brushes any kind of any criticism off as imperialistic betrayal or siding with the Americans, and that he's actually diminished the space for democracy.
Scathing words.
In Venezuela, yeah. So they're very anti-Chavez. In talking about the wider consequences of this vote, actually, there was an analytical piece by The Guardian this weekend, which was very interesting, about the elephant in the room, which is oil in Venezuela, of course. They explain just how entwined oil and politics are in this country, where oil accounts for 95% of the country's revenues. So what they're saying is that the person or persons who take on the government are effectively holding the country's economy in their hands, and they can make some really important decisions. For example, who to trade with. I mean, they've got enough oil now, they're the largest reserves in the world, that could last 100 years. Chavez has established subsidised deals with Cuba, Belarus and Syria, and he says he wants to double exports in Asia, which is really pushing the US out of the market. Obviously, we're going to see some consequences in the coming weeks if the results we've seen this morning are confirmed.
OK, well, the other big story you pulled out is about another long-term leaguer. Over the other side of the world, though, we're going to Russia. Vladimir Putin, his birthday. Russians, they've been out celebrating for him?
Yeah, Russians were celebrating Vladimir Putin's birthday on Sunday. He was 60, so happy birthday, Vladimir. Apparently spontaneous street celebrations. No one's really sure whether they were organised. The independent English-language daily, the Moscow Times, covers it all in an article entitled Praise Protests for 60th Birthdays. Now, that tells us that it wasn't only pro-Putin people who are out in the streets, but also opposition activists who are taking this opportunity to criticise the leader who's been in power in some way or another for the last 12 years, either as Prime Minister or President. They dressed up as elderly people as a little nod to the fact that he can draw his pension now, but he probably won't be.
Poor old Vladimir, yeah.
And The Guardian also covered the protests with, and they mentioned, which is really interesting, that some of the opposition protesters had signs that read, Putin, we remember everything. Now, this could be a reference, of course, to anti-Putin journalist Anna Politkovskaya, who was murdered on the same day, 7th of October 2006. And also there's this issue of a very sad anniversary this month as well, which is that of the Moscow theatre siege, when over 100 people were killed by Chechen terrorists. So they're saying that not all anniversaries are happy ones in Russia.
Very true. Finally, some women taking modern art into their own hands. This is at the Tate Modern in Britain.
I couldn't quite believe this story when I saw it. A Mark Rothko painting in the Tate Modern, it's a 1958 canvas called Black on Maroon, has been graffitied or tagged by a young man who just walked in there with a marker pen on Sunday afternoon.
OK.
His name's Vladimir Umanets, and he's actually admitted responsibility. He's come forward and said he was adding value to the painting in his own surreal, artistic way. And I think the British police are hot on his trail right now.
Well, you never know. I suppose because of the publicity it's received, maybe he has added value to it. But yeah, they're usually a little bit plainer than that written in the corner, aren't they? Olivia, thank you very much. Olivia Salazar-Winsberg with the international papers here on France 24.